Hello and welcome to another video. This time I thought we would look at rollable tables, and so without further ado let's bang on. So we click on tables, we click on our edit list button as usual. We have two possible edit buttons here, table by size or just an ordinary table. We'll just add items as usual. An anatomy of a table here, we've got a title, a possible description. The buttons here, the first one is the actual roll button for rolling the table. The visibility button will only appear if you have show GM rolls set to on. If you've got that set to off, then the visibility button won't appear. Essentially, the visibility button allows the DM to hide the table roll from the players. If this is lit up, then the players are going to see it. If it's greyed out, then the players won't see it. You then have a custom dice and a possible modifier, and you've got output to various places. You can output to chat, story, partial, encounter. Just click on the box here to cycle through these. And then you've got an edit list button here, which when we expand it, we can add in columns with the green button, rows with the green button, and we can add or remove columns with these two here. And we'll come to all of these in more detail later. So let's create a random encounter table just to demonstrate a few things. So we'll give it a title. We won't bother with a description. We're not needing any custom dice here or anything like that. And we want our steps. These are the from to. So if we type in 1 and then 1, that means that on a result of a 1, this is what's going to happen. If we take this one to say 2 and then 4, then this is going to be a roll of between 2 and 4. This will happen. And we can then go, let's say 5 and 5, and let's say 6 and 6. So that's going to give us our 1d6, and on a result of 1, 5 and 6 something will happen, and on a result of 2, 3 and 4 something else will happen. So these are random encounters, so we want some beasties, so we could just simply type in text into these things. A bunch of kobolds up here, and we could call it quits at that. Well, that's not particularly helpful, because as DM you want the actual kobolds to appear themselves. You don't just want a text message to say that's what's happening. So we can do this. We open up our NPCs list. We've got wolves here, so that's fine. So let's drag in a wolf into the table here. Let's find something else. On a 2 to 4, let's find a goblin. Maybe we're going to have some bandits. Drag that in, and we might as well have some kobolds. So let's get them in as well. So we're just basically dragging in the NPCs from the NPC list and dropping it onto our table here. And you can see that these are creating links. If we click on that, then it's going to open up wolf. If we roll our table now, we will get a result down here in chat, and if we click on that, it's giving us the NPC sheet for the one that we rolled. Now that's useful, but not particularly useful. We'd like this to be in an encounter, and so we can change that in the output, and if we change it to encounter, and now when we roll, we will actually get an encounter. Now we're still not particularly useful here, because we've only got one beastie. We want more than one. So we go back into our table and we decide how many of these beasties are going to appear. We do this by adding a dice string or a number. We have to open up brackets here. We can then add in our dice string, let's say a 1d4, and then we need a multiplication sign, an x. Close the brackets. And now when we roll a 1, we'll get a d4 wolves. The goblins here, let's open brackets again. Let's have 1d6 of those. 1d6. Open our bracket, make sure we put our multiplication sign in, close our brackets. Maybe we want a fixed number of bandits. We can do that. Let's do 3 times bandits. We don't need a dice string, so we can just, that'll give us 3 bandits. And maybe with the kobolds, maybe we want a bit more of them, so let's give it 1d10 and plus 2. So we're going to get between 3 and 12 kobolds. So all of that is now going to make this table a lot more useful. When we roll on the table, we're actually going to get a random number, and I've just spotted there that in that last one I didn't put in that X, which is necessary. But you can see the point here. We're going to get a random number of beasties depending on what the dice rolls are on the table. So we just really need to refresh the challenge rating in XP, and our encounter is ready to place on the combat tracker. So that's much more useful. We can go further though. Let's supposing that we want some kind of chance that a goblin boss will also appear alongside the goblins. So we can do this, and I've created another table whilst you weren't looking, just to speed things up. So what we're going to do here is we're going to add another column to this. We'll just expand this a little bit just so that you can see it more easily. And in the next to the goblins here, we're going to add in, or we're going to ask this table to roll on this other table here, which I prepared earlier. Now this other table is just a fairly straightforward thing. We've got a 50% chance of a goblin boss appearing. Click this to see our goblin boss. So we want to call this table from our random encounter table, and you can do that by just opening up square brackets and typing in the name of the table that we want to call from here. So what's going to happen now is that if we roll a 2 to 4, we're going to get 1d6 goblins, and then it's going to roll on this other table here, and if the result of this roll is a 1, we'll also get a goblin boss. So we can try this out. Hopefully it won't take us too long to actually get our goblins. Probably take forever, of course, because this is always the case if you're actually trying to run something. But there you see it there. We got 4 goblins, and if you see down here in the chat, we did actually roll on the goblin boss table. We got a 2, and we didn't add in. The goblin boss wasn't added in. So it does work. So that's random encounters. Now, of course, with random encounters, you would more likely just actually create a random encounter in here for your goblins, and then drag the actual encounter itself into the table. Would probably be a neater way of doing it. But this just demonstrates what kind of things you can do with tables. So let's move on to something else then, and let's look at random treasure tables, which is something else that is often used, or tables are often used for. So let's get ourselves a new table. Let's call it random treasure. And we're going to set this up a little differently. We are going to want some custom dice. So we're going to roll 2d6 instead of 1d6 or whatever. We're not going to roll a specified dice. So we want a custom dice here. So we're just going to pick up a 1d6, right click, and then drop the 2 dice into the custom. So that's going to give us a roll of between 2 and 12. It shows you here that the 2d6. We want some more rows, so let's add in a couple more rows. And the idea of this table is that we're going to weight the table slightly, just the same way as we did with the goblins. And of course, the most frequent roll of 2d6 is a 7 and a 7, or as a 7. So that's going to be the roll that's going to come up most frequently. Let's call this one 2 and 2, because that's the least likely to come up, as well as 12 and 12, and then we'll just fill in the rest of this 3 to 6, and this one will be 8 to 11. So that gives us some weight on the table to various things. So let's give this a title of coins, and if we roll a 2, we want to be reasonably generous here, so let's just type in our square brackets 4d6, and then we'll finish it off with gold pieces. We want a bit less, let's say 3d6 if we're coming to between 3 and 6, and on the 7 we want the least amount because the 7 is going to come up more often. So let's do 3d10, but we'll make it silver pieces. We forgot the brackets at the beginning. And then we'll just do the same kind of thing here, 3d6 gold pieces, and if we roll a 12 we'll get 4d6 gold pieces. Right, so that's a table, that's it, that's fine. We roll on this, and in chat we get 13 gold pieces. Again, this is not super useful. We want this in a treasure parcel, obviously, so we can change the output from the table and make sure that it's now in a treasure parcel. And now when we roll, we get a treasure parcel popping up with an amount of gold pieces already filled in for us. Now, of course, we don't need to stop there. We can add in some more columns to our table here and make the treasure potential a bit more exciting. So let's add a column, and let's give the possibility of some gems appearing. So let's give this one a title. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to use some of the tables from the Dungeon Master's Guide. So if you've got this resource, then you've already got some tables in here which are ideal for creating your own treasure parcels. And you can see here that we've got a 10 gold piece gemstones table, a 50 pence gold piece table, and a 100 gold piece gemstone table. So let's use those tables. So for a 2, let's just say that we're going to give the possibility of 1 gem, so we don't need any multiples. We do need, however, to make sure that we use the right name for the table, so it's 100 with a space, gold piece, and then gemstones, and close off our brackets. So that's fine. Let's supposing that we maybe going to give, let's say we're going to give a random number of gemstones on a 3 to 6. So let's put in a dice string, 1d4. We must put in our multiplication, close the brackets, and then open the brackets again, and then put in 50 gold piece gemstones. So that's going to call that table 1d4 times. So it's not just monsters that you can call with a dice string. You can call a table a certain amount of times. This one here, well, maybe we don't want to give out any gemstones for here. So I've actually created another table in here called mundane items, which is just a list of stuff that you might get from the player's handbook, for example. And we're going to give, let's say, 1d3 just for fun, and then open that up and type in mundane items. And this table here, we're just going to do the same, so let's just copy this one here and paste it in there, and for the top one let's just do the same again, just to save us a bit of time. But you can see what you can do. You can roll on tables a multitude of times with different die rolls and different amounts, and these, like the monsters, they don't need to be dice strings. They could be just 2 times or 3 times or whatever. So now when we roll it on our table, we can see that we've got a whole load of stuff gets rolled, and in this case we got some gems. We can click on these. These are 50 gold piece gems. Everything is all linked up all nicely, so the treasure parcel is now just ready to just drop into the party sheet for distribution. Okay, so let's just add in one more complication then. Let's add another column to this table. Let's stretch it out a little bit so that we can actually see what's going on. And in this column we're going to have the possibility of a magic item appearing. Now we've got a table here, We've got two tables. In fact, we've got a magic items table with some magic items just dragged in. We've just created this table in the same way as we've done all the others, just dragged these items in from the Dungeon Master's Guide. And we've also got a table here called Magic Item Chance, and this is similar to the Goblin Boss table, except that you can see here the chance is really it's 1 to 10. It's a 10% chance, and we've added in a dice string 1d6, which is far too generous, obviously, but it's just for illustrative purposes. And we've got 11 to 100. Nothing's going to happen, so that's just blank. So if for each of these we want to just call this table, so we're magic brackets again, and magic items chance. And we want this table to appear on all of the columns. So we're just going to copy and paste it into all of the columns. Make sure you get it right before you do the copy pasting. And so what's going to happen now is when we roll on this table, we're going to get some gold pieces or silver pieces. We're going to get potentially some gems or mundane items, and then we're going to have a chance of a magic item. Now, to illustrate this, I'm going to change the percentages here because we could be here all night waiting for our 10% chance. So let's just change the 10 here to a 90 and change the 11 to 91. And so we're going to get a much higher chance of magic items appearing. So when we click now on the table, we have made an error somewhere. Yes, we've called this table an incorrect name, so let's this is why you always make sure before you copy paste that you've actually got it right. So now it's right, so let's get rid of that. Let's clear that, and you can see lots of dice rolls, and we've got some magic items appearing, boots of speed, jasper, as well as our gold pieces and some gems. So that's it. That's sort of touching on the kind of things that you can do with tables. There's a lot more that you can do with if you're judicious in your use of tables, and of course these kind of tables are also very useful for story templates. And you can watch the story templates video for some ideas as to how you can use tables there. But anyway, that's enough for this video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers for now.